All right. We got lighting today and that's why we're on the inside. Okay, we're checking the lighting, making sure that's all good because it's nasty out and it's cold and wet and rainy, which is how we ended up indoors today. It's also a Thursday because I've been procrastinating. So here we are. And we're indoors with Kiwi Bird today. So if you hear her in the background, you know what's up. All right, let me get my notes situated. All right, some of these we don't need. Okay, I got all the papers, all the notes, all the papers, and some of these are going to be just, you know, we're gonna have to circle back and just do a little series about this, okay? Because clearly we need a review. We need a review, we need an audit, we need a recalibration, we need a reset, we need to just circle the wagons and figure out what the point of it all is, because clearly we've lost the plot. All right, we've just lost the plot. Nobody knows why we're doing it anymore. So we need to figure that out. And this is just going to be the kickoff for that. And I have felt like I have needed to do this video for a while now. And, you know, since like last year at least. And this is just a great opportunity because Miss USA, y'all, it shit the bed, which who is surprised? Not me. But anyways, okay, let's see what I got. I gotta just make sure that my notes is all noting. And okay, here we go. So let's see, Miss USA 2025. Now, I don't know how many of y'all care, which if you don't care, go away, all right? And if you do care, a couple of notes before I get into this. First of all, I come from a family and I was raised where honesty is the greatest show of love that someone can give to you, okay? And so when people love you, they're honest with you, which means that criticism is bring it on, baby. All right, there's going to be a lot of critiques in here. I may or may not call out contestants personally, which you can either choose to take it personally or you can take the criticism as what it is and either use it to your advantage or toss it in the bin, baby. What do I care? Okay, so, and if you're not cool with criticism, maybe go find a different video because critiques are what I do. So, get ready. We're not going to be nice. We're not going to be soft. We're not going to be kind because that's not how you improve. All right? And we need improvement across all categories, not just this particular event. All right? Just Americans, the US, the world in general, the whole thing. The report card just says needs improvement. All right? So, Miss USA 2025. If you don't know what the drama is, basically Miss USA has been going down the tubes since JKN bought Miss Universe. All right. Don't know who JKN is? Well, look into that little steaming pile of goodness and, you know, enjoy that. But they bought the pageant, split Miss USA away from Miss Universe, and there was the brightly burning explosion that was the Layla Rose era of Miss USA, which is thankfully gone, put behind us. And Tom Brodeur this summer recently took over the Miss USA organization. Now, that being said, I want to caveat all of this criticism with the acknowledgement that I understand, okay, you just got the organization. Pulling it from the grasping clutches of Miss Layla Rose was like pulling teeth from a hippopotamus, okay? Like, she did not want to let go. I get it. You didn't have a lot of time to prepare. The brand is essentially bankrupt. So I get it. You got to downsize. You got to work with the budget that you have. But frankly, this was embarrassing. It was just embarrassing on so many different fronts from a national representation point of view. And again, I get it. Come at me all you want, but facts are facts, okay? And there have been local Miss Haystack Festival productions that have been put on better than this, okay? And if you think that the mighty have not fallen, do what I did. Go back in 5-year increments, okay? This was 2025. Go check out 2020. Go check out, which was during COVID, okay? Check out 2020. Check out 2015. Check out 2010. Check out 2000. And my personal favorite, 1995. Go check out the production for Miss USA from 1995. And then come back to me, okay? Because this is a deeply embarrassing flop. And baby, Tommy, honey, I can tell why you chose to put it behind a paywall, all right? Believe you me, I get it. I wouldn't want this out there on the interwebs for just anybody to go and see. It's an embarrassment. I wouldn't want people to go find this and be able to look at it and to have this up on YouTube next to Miss Thailand. I get it. Okay, so no tea, no shade on that front, because I would have put it behind a paywall too, okay? I get it. That being said, the entire production, in my opinion, was a struggle. From the staging, camera work, all of it, top to bottom, struggle. All right, let me go through my list. So the camera work, whoever that camera guy was, get rid of him. All right, I don't know who they are, but put it back in the oven. It needs more time. Ain't nobody got time for that. All right, camera work was terrible. The lighting, what are we doing, y'all? You had more lights behind the contestants than you did on the contestants, which is the entire point. Okay, so let's switcheroonie that next time, and maybe not put all of your good lighting behind the contestant. All right, because it looked dark, it looked drab, and all we could pay attention to was the really mediocre, sometimes atrocious hair and makeup that walked across that stage, which we'll talk about that too. But yeah, lighting was awful. All right, it was terrible. There are high school productions that do better lighting than that. We can do better. The staging overall, it looked cheap. Okay, let's be honest. Y'all saw it with your eyeballs. I saw it with mine. It looked cheap. It looked like we were in a rush and we went to the Dollar General and got some gold foil and slapped it across the stage and was like, all right, great, we're done. And beyond that, those electronic backgrounds, maybe next time just choose a solid color. Okay, when in doubt, choose a solid color. Stop with all of this like 2008 screensaver like filler backgrounds. It was terrible, okay? It detracted from the contestants. It was terrible color for everybody involved and just continued to drag the production down, okay? So we also didn't like that. The hair and makeup, to circle back to that, I don't know what happened, but there was a clear point where whoever was doing hair and makeup got tired, okay? Whoever they were, she was doing her best but got knocked off her feet, okay? Because there was a significant switcheroonie between the good hair and the hair that looked like you did it in 5 minutes because you were rushing. And same for the makeup. Why was everybody yellow? everybody was yellow. Everybody was yellow. Everybody had these like 1980s pink blush cheek. Like, stop. Most of these young women are unbelievably beautiful on their own. They do not need you to be cookie cutter paste stamping the one face that you can make up on every single one of them. I don't know who you were, but again, go back, spend a little more time on your artistry, baby, because I was not impressed. And whoever you are, I really hope that our Miss USA has someone else for universe, because it was bad. Everything was yellow and you put the same face on everybody. It wasn't cute. And I could distinctly tell who had clearly decided to like do their own hair and makeup and who paid for the team. Okay, so let's fix that. All right. Also, bless her heart, but Olivia Jordan, y'all, an MC she is not. Okay. Miss Olivia, just, first of all, aren't you like a mom now? I mean, not that that really means anything, right? But like, you're a mature former Miss USA, and that pink gown, it was like a teen gown for like Miss Corncob, okay? It was not attractive. You could have done better. And sweetheart, you're just not an MC, okay? And that's fine. I'm probably not either, all right? But there are so many unbelievably talented young women who come out of the pageant system who are really good at MCing. So if you're gonna have a former come back and MC, let's pick one that's good at it, all right? She made me uncomfortable, didn't like it. Let's get her out, okay? Following that, who are these judges? Who are these judges? Like, okay, you've got Nia Sanchez up there. Great. Everybody else, who are you? These were like D, E, F level celebrities, right? Like back in the day, we used to have actual business leaders, okay? We had business leaders, we had talent agency representation, we had, pro sports athletes as judges. We had, I mean, this was, nobody knew who you were, okay? Nobody knew who you were, and I guess that tells us exactly why you were available for this last minute debacle in Reno, all right? At their, like, casino, smoke lounge bar. It was just, I mean, goodness gracious. And it was just, we need to fix that, okay? So overall production, Tom baby, I had such high hopes, and I'm not gonna get too caught up in this, because again, I recognize you had a certain amount of time, you had, I no doubt, monetary constraints, okay? But again, you bought the company. You should, or the organization, I should say. You bought the organization. You should have been perfectly aware of what the potential situation was going to be like when you bought it, all right? You should have planned better. It wasn't good. It wasn't pretty, and God help you, honey, all right? So, which, all of this, I want to say, brings me back to why I think I'm going to end up doing like a whole series on this, to reestablish what the entire point of a beauty pageant is, right? Like, what's the point? Why are we doing it? Because we've clearly lost it. We've lost the plot. Nobody knows. And that's why we're all wandering around being, glorified salespeople for these, plastic surgery, jewelry, slipshod nutritional supplement brands that nobody's ever heard of before, okay? And no one's ever really gonna buy, We need to do better. All right. So we're gonna, in a different video, establish what exactly the definition and purpose of a beauty pageant is. So that's going to be a whole nother video. But anyways, on my little rant about Miss USA. And let me just say that a lot of this critique can be applied to the teen division as well, but I'm not going to directly criticize or critique the teen division just because you're teens, right? We get it. You're young. Everybody that's a teen needs to go back and cook a little longer and keep developing, all right? So we're not going to come at the teens. But the production was the same, so production notes, no, still sucks. Now, before I get into my notes for the contestants, I want to start off with the very short list of positives that I have, okay? So that includes that they put in effort, all right? I want to recognize and call out all of the time and dedication and work and effort that these young women, not young women, because they were not so young women participating in this go-round, but to all of the ladies on that stage, I recognize how much work and effort it takes to get there and to perform at that level. I understand, all right? I get it. And I respect you for that. And anything that I say after this does not detract from the fact that you put in effort to get there, all right? My second positive is that it did feel like we were turning a corner here with what exactly Miss USA as an organization is expecting of their title holder when it comes to what they're representing. And I say that from like a, there were a lot of contestants that looked normal, right? Like they looked like real young women that you could see at, the coffee shop in the morning on the way to work, right? Which I think is the whole point. Like you're supposed to be the hottest girl next door that anybody's seen, right? Like that's who Miss USA is. And it felt kind of like we were moving back towards that, especially when you saw young women like Maine, who I thought did a really good job, and the winner, former Miss Nebraska, who I know why she won, okay? I'm gonna tell y'all why she won. We're gonna get into it. So, the notes that I have for contestants, and some of these are gonna be specific to individual contestants, and I may or may not call them out, I don't know. We'll get there when we get there. But most of these can be universally applied to just about every single pageant contestant that walked across that stage, okay? In some way or another. There was just, I don't know who y'all are going to for coaching, but it's like that scene in Bring It On where they get the crazy jazz hands guy to do their routine, and then they show up to nationals and like 4 other teams have the same routine, and now they're just up Schitt's Creek, okay? Same vibe with all of y'all's routines, okay? So I don't know who the coach is, but and maybe don't go back. Anywho, so my notes for contestants. Robot eyes. You know what I'm talking about, okay? The look left, look right, look up, look out, look at the judges. Robot eyes, okay? You can do that circuit in a way that doesn't look like you're thinking it to yourself, right? Like, you look demented, okay? Practice that. It's a smooth, just take in the aura, take in the scenery. Like, it's supposed to be you looking out at your, what would we call it? Your peasants, your subjects, okay? That's what it is. You're looking out at your subjects and you're letting them know, darling, I know it's me, okay? That's what we're doing here. Not this, no, it's not cute. Stop it, all right? And another hair and makeup note. and this probably specifically is more towards whoever was beating the crap out of these ladies' faces. We are in an HD, LED, high definition, like 4K, ultra world, all right? You need to do your makeup accordingly. Soften, blend, all right? Because these Southeast Asian countries are gonna eat y'all up. They really are, all right? And the makeup ain't makeup-in. It's not. We need to blend. We need to learn how to do makeup for HD 4K LED lighting, because whatever that was, it was not it. What did I call it? I have called this thing a couple of different things. What are we calling it? Catching flies. Okay, so catching flies, fish mouth. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You do your poses. It's part of the facial routine. And then you start doing this. Stop it. Okay? Miss Olivia Jordan did it back in like 2015, and fine, it worked for her, but y'all doing it too much. It's not cute. You're literally catching flies. You look like that bass that's stuck on the wall singing at you. Okay? Stop it. Correct it. Which brings me into facials overall. Facials, I mean, this kind of goes for facials, posing, walking. You need to practice. The whole point is that it's supposed to look effortless. And there were a couple of you that you didn't do as well as you thought you should because you looked effortful. Everything was an effort. Everything was, we could see you thinking about it. We could see you trying, which is entirely not the point, right? Like the whole point and the whole goal of this as a competitive arena is to show an effortlessness, to make it look easy, to make it look like you aren't thinking about it. So if I can watch you walk across that stage and you are doing the most, that's why, okay? And we're gonna specifically call out two that I know for a fact were people's favorites, all right? California, it's why she didn't make it as a finalist. California walking across that stage, it was too much. It was too much. She was trying too hard, and it gave off the vibe that no one had ever given her a negative critique to curtail and tighten that up, okay? They just let her go out there and feel her oats, which, baby, if that's how you feel about yourself and you are into it and you love it, who am I, right? But visually, it was too try hard. It was too try hard. It wasn't polished enough. It wasn't effortless. And you looked like a caricature, all right? And there's a fine line between looking like a caricature and doing a polished performance, okay? So that's why California didn't make it. That's why Louisiana didn't make it. Louisiana didn't make it any farther because her hairography, okay? Her hairography was too, again, effortful. It felt too much like she was thinking about it. And it was distracting, frankly. I also think that there are a lot of young women that are participating now that have done too much, okay? I know that injectables and plastic surgery they are an absolute sponsorship market now within the beauty pageant industry. I get it, but we gotta tone it back. We have to tone it back. It's not cute and it's not classy. And there's a huge difference between getting work done that looks good one angle through an iPhone, okay? And something that looks unnatural and uncanny when you see it in person or you see it moving on stage, right? Specifically when people turn and we get a 3/4 or we get a profile. I can tell which one of you have had your chin injected. I can tell who's had cheek injections. I mean, lip filler, just about everybody, right? I can tell who's had Botox. I can tell who's, like, all of this is apparent, and it's not a good thing. And specifically, and I'm gonna do it, that's another one. I'm gonna do a whole video on that as well. But I think specifically within beauty pageants, why it's harmful is because it showcases a deeply rooted lack of self-confidence that cannot be resolved with surgical or injectable intervention. It just can't. And it's, in my opinion, unhealthy to provide a platform to young women who are going to be putting forward that image to young women. I don't think it's healthy. I think it's something that young women now are having to battle against on a daily basis as it is. And to give a title that, while it doesn't have as much clout and recognition as it used to, you're still a public facing figure, and you're a public facing figure for an organization and a title that is supposed to represent young women in the United States. And I just think we need to move past it, all right? And I say that as someone who has gotten my fair share of injectables, all right? And again, I'm gonna do another video entirely about injectables and my beef with them, but I think that that's why a lot of these young women didn't do better, is because of that. So just keep that in the back of your mind as a contestant. Just remember that we can tell, and if it makes you feel confident, do it. That's the beauty of the United States, okay? But I don't think it's healthy to be giving platforms to the icons that are allegedly, leading young women into the future, is my point, okay? So that's all I'm gonna say about the fillers and things. Part of the try hard aspect of, this was Barbie hands, okay? You guys love to do, I'm having to check in the, the camera, the screen, because I don't, like, you do these little Barbie hands where you like glue all your fingers together, and then, you put them, you can't see this, but you put them on your waist and you're like, it's just, again, it's one of those things that it looks artificial, it looks unnatural, and that's kind of the antithesis to the whole point of being a successful beauty queen, right? Like, the whole thing is supposed to be effortless and natural, right? Like, that's the point. So drop the Barbie hands. We gotta stop. And also the hands on hips while you're walking. Nobody walks like that. It's not natural. Like, stop it. You look like an automaton. Stop that. Also, this excessive, like, flinging your, little chiffon bits everywhere and like pulling your arms all the way up to your ears to like swish your cape around. Again, it's too try hard. It's too try hard. You're removing the illusion of it being effortless, and it's just not natural. It's not natural. It's not cute. We got to stop that. Okay, you're not a bird. You're not about to take flight. Yeah, and the routines. Why am I ever looking at the back of your head for more than like 2 seconds? Okay? No one wants to see the back of your head. Stop coming out and showing people the back of your head. Stop coming out and having a moment where you like walk to the back of the stage and you stand there and let them see your little booty cheeks and then turn around and flip the hair, okay? No one wants to see the back of your head. Stop it. Okay? Facials. So facials go into that whole category of your routine needs practice. It needs tightening up, okay? And I recognize that remembering how to walk and what your posing routine is, it's a little bit like walking and chewing gum, baby, all right? You gotta learn how to walk and how to keep your face looking natural the whole time, because the facials are another one of those things. Comes back to catching flies, honey. The transitions, the smoothness of facials, it doesn't look natural, and it makes again you look try hard. And it's, if I'm a judge, I'm docking points for that, because that's the whole point of practice, right? And besides being able to get up there and coherently talk to anyone, just coherently talk and answer questions, your whole job as a beauty queen is to be able to walk and to have a nice face. That's the job. So if you get up there in the national competition or any competition at all, it doesn't matter if it's Miss USA. I see this across the board. If you get up there and your facials are robotic, your facials aren't smooth, the transitions aren't smooth, you're doing this like fish mouth catching flies nonsense, it's ruining the illusion of what you are supposed to be projecting as a beauty queen, okay? Tighten it up. It just takes practice, all right? Same with like the walking. Everybody just needs practice. I don't know what is going on, but we need practice. Why can't we walk down 3 sets of stairs, okay? Why can none of you walk down 3 sets of stairs without looking like you're going to, like, oh God, I might fall down the stairs, you know, like, this is stuff that you can practice. And again, one of my favorite stagings of Miss USA, Miss 1995, okay? Those ladies had 21 stairs. The entire evening gown walk was stairs, all right? Do you not go out in the world? Do you not think that the whole point of being able to demonstrate that you can come downstairs is because you're expected to go to events where, oh my God, there might be a staircase, there might be stairs. Like, you need to know how to walk in a gown in stairs. Learn how to navigate life like a normal person in stairs. That's the whole point, okay? And the prancing. There are a couple, I think that's probably why, I don't know for sure, but I would venture to say that that's why, you know, contestants like Oklahoma and there was another one, I don't remember which one. I don't know, there were a couple contestants that they do like, you like prance, you know, or like, I think Louisiana did this as well. It's like this, and I guess it's a style that people like now, but like the horse walk thing, like it's not pretty in person, okay? It's not attractive, it's not elegant, and it's like gives you this like bouncy teen energy, right? And if you're a teen, fine, bounce away, right? But we're not toddlers in tiaras, all right? This is the Miss category. We want elegance, we want elevation, we want class, we want style, not teen bebopping around, all right? So cut it out. And my last note, which again, to the ladies, I get it, the cameraman was shite, all right? But part of the whole goal of doing this is like you need to be able to find the camera. You need to be able to find the camera and work with the camera, especially in the age of digital media, all right? Practice that. Okay, now we're going to be getting into, so this was one that, this was a comment from a different pageant, but fingernails, okay? It's a beauty pageant. I don't want to be looking at your talons and not at you. Don't do crazy colors. Don't do like 2-inch long nails. And I say that as someone who loves a good talon, okay? There's a time and place for everything. You can go for a pageant week without having neon colored nails or nails that are, from the Real Housewives of New Jersey, all right? So now, this is this stuff that I think is most likely to, this whole video, honestly, is gonna offend people, and that's okay. I don't care. Be offended. Get mad. Doesn't change it. So, one of my biggest issues, and this is just culturally overall, and it's going to be something that I circle back to in yet another video, is how being a victim, it's not cute anymore. Victimhood is not cute. It's not on trend. We got to toss being a victim at the drop of a hat. We got to toss that to the wayside. We have to move forward. You're competing in a beauty pageant. You're not a victim, okay? You're not. There is nothing more privileged than having the opportunity to compete in a beauty pageant, much less compete at Miss USA. All right, we got to drop the victimhood. Like, it's stale. Move on. Find something else. All right, it does not a personality make. It does not a platform make. Like, move on. And tangent to that, this performativeness, if y'all don't think that people can see when you're being performative and when you are performing identity, when you are performing a caricature of yourself, people can tell, okay? And this is another one. Y'all get mad at me. Come at me, babies. I cannot wait. But New Hampshire, that right there was the clearest sign of performative inclusion outside of like Miss Pakistan, okay? There's nothing more performative than, pretending that you are conservative and modest and then participating in a beauty pageant. No, that doesn't, it doesn't compute, and it's just the fact of the matter, okay? We know it isn't. And it's another one of those, like, great, you put on a headscarf to win a spot at Miss USA. And I think that the reality is that you can look at the performance and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You did not have a strong performance. You shouldn't have been on that stage, period. It was up there with like the weakest link, all right? And like, we got to stop with this performative inclusion. We really do. It's tired, frankly. It's tired. It's stale. Nobody's buying it anymore. And if you're going to perform identity, pick a different one, especially within the context of a beauty pageant, okay? Like, you can't be modest when you're trying to show off your body. We got cut off because the camera got too hot. So we'll hopefully This will get us to the end of what we need. But going off of that, we're going to move on from identity performance, okay? But in the same vein of performance, word salads for your platform, baby. This is also why I think we need more intelligent judges, because it's just this empty word salad SEO, plug, padded resume nonsense is exactly that. And if you don't answer the question, that's an automatic out, in my opinion. And a lot of these platforms are they're just as performative as pretending modesty. Okay, it's just you're making something up, pulling it out of your backside and slapping it on a piece of paper with a lot of words that sound good but say nothing. Okay, and that's what a lot of this is. And this is not a new phenomenon. This has been a continuing evolution within the pageant industry in general. And I think, again, a lot of it comes down to we no longer know why we're doing a beauty pageant. We don't know what the point is. And so you get endless numbers of contestants who, like I said, they use a lot of words that sound good but say nothing. And beyond that, stop bringing up race. Stop bringing up race and stop bringing up being held back and not having opportunities because you're a woman. Stop, okay? Nobody's buying it anymore. It's old, it's trashy, it's victimhood, and we can do better than that, okay? Now, to get into specifics, these we're going to talk about because it's the final question, right? And we can specifically dig into why some of these questions I hate. So we'll talk about that as well. But why these answers weren't answers. All right, that's what we're going to dig into, because the biggest thing about this is if someone asks you a question, listen and then answer. All right, and some of these you did not listen to the question and you did not answer, and that is specifically why Miss Nebraska won. All right, so talking of Miss Nebraska, she was the very first, and her question was, when people look back at our try number 3, it's all because my battery died. All right, camera got hot, battery died, here we are. As I was saying, we were talking about Miss Nebraska and the final questions, okay, and what makes an answer and what doesn't. So, Miss Nebraska's question was, and so these questions, I didn't write down verbatim what was asked, but I made sure to write down enough that the context of what they were asking is there. Same for the responses, okay? I'm not gonna write down, we got close enough, all right? Don't wanna take my word for it, go find it, but my analysis, I'm rather proud of, okay? But don't take my word for it. You can go pay $40 to go watch this steaming pile of oatmeal mush if you so desire. So, Miss Nebraska's question. When people look back at our generation, what will they say, and how are you making it happen? So, hold on, I think I missed a keyword in there. But it was, when people look back at our generation, what is one word that they will use to describe the generation? And how are you, impacting that, right? And Miss Nebraska's answer was adaptable. she thinks that's the word that best describes our generation, is adaptable. And what made it successful is that she tied it back to her platform while also answering the question in a coherent way, which that's the whole point, right? Like, you don't have to tie your platform to it. But what was successful, and I think this is what was successful about Nebraska's 90-second Meet the Contestant video as well, right? Is that in her response to this question, she answered it. She said clearly, the word that would describe the generation is adaptable. She tied it back to her platform, which is increasing digital literacy and awareness among the youth of how to keep themselves safe in a increasingly digital environment, and how being the very first kind of online social media generation has forced her generation to become adaptable, all right? Which, brilliant, okay? All I have to say is you just go and you watch Miss Nebraska's answer to this question, and you watch her little 90-second video telling you who she is, what her platform is. And the key is not just what her platform is, but what is she doing? What actions? That is what a lot of people miss in on-stage question, in interview, in the 90-second about me, is that it's not just about your platform. It's about what actions, like what are you doing? Nobody cares what you say on your resume, because everybody lies on their resume. No one cares. People want to hear about what you are doing. Pardon, that was our beef jerky machine that just let me know it was done. But anyways, it's about action. It's about what you are doing to make a difference in your community. And it doesn't matter what you say your platform is, if there is nothing behind it that you can pull out and say, here is the actual evidence of me backing up my platform and doing something with it, right? And Miss Nebraska, I tip my hat to you, honey. I think you are an excellent Miss USA, and I truly hope that you deliver at Miss Universe this next month, because I thought you were adorable, and I thought your answers were incredible. I thought that, anyways, we'll circle back to that, okay? The second question was to Miss Oregon, which I really liked Miss Oregon. She also is a client of Morgan, who I know and I adore. I think Morgan is phenomenal, and she is very good at snatching bodies, okay? So if you need a fitness coach, Morgan. So I know Miss Oregon impersonally via Morgan, but I was very impressed with Miss Oregon. I think that she did a marvelous job answering her question. I completely agree, because as a creative, how AI is going to, impact the world is extremely important to me. But anyways, so Miss Oregon's question was, AI is rewriting how we live and work. What is the ethical line AI should not cross, in one sentence? And Miss Oregon's answer was, leave our creativity alone. She could have just stopped there, Okay, honestly, she could have just stopped there. But then she circled it back around to her work in owning a modeling agency and being a model herself, which, if any of you have paid attention to the news, is very important to the fashion and the modeling world because of the advent of using AI generated models within even ye old hallowed halls of Vogue, okay, which I don't think they're so hallowed anymore. But that's just my opinion, and I can put that in a whole nother video. Anyways, so Miss Oregon did a great job because, first of all, leave our creativity alone. Brilliant. Done. Put it in the bag. Finished. Okay? I thought it was fantastic. And like I said, she tied it back to her personal experience and to her work, and it gave you insight into the fact that I guarantee you Miss Oregon is not using AI models, okay? Guarantee it. But great job. I think it was absolutely a given that Miss Oregon was going to be in the top 3. We knew that, okay? As soon as we saw her walk across the stage in swimsuit on prelim night, a bitch knew. Okay, you'd have to be deaf, dumb, blind, and delusional to not know. Okay. To Miss Oregon's credit, I think that probably the only reason Miss Oregon wasn't the winner, and unfortunately, I'm not surprised by that because the parent organization of Universe, JKN again, look into that drama. Danny Walker does a marvelous, which, side note, thrilled to see Danny Walker a part of this, although, baby, I really hope we're going to get an honest review from you about this, despite them including you, which, shout out to Tom for the Machiavellian manipulation of that. I mean, I would too. Try and keep the cushioning a little soft on that review. But yeah, anyways, I think that Danny Walker did a great review over, talking about all the drama with JKN. But based off of commentary and comments that have been given by JKN at Universe, I did not think that any of our older contestants and moms were going to win. I just didn't, because JKN has come out and said that they aren't going to win. And so if I were a national director, I would just go ahead and I would not. And yeah, I just wouldn't, because what's the point, right? Like, the whole goal is to have a winning organization and to get the Miss Universe crowns, right? Everybody wants to be Venezuela. But you're not going to set yourself up for success by sending a contestant that the Universe organization has already stated is never going to win the title, okay? So, but I think that's probably the only reason why, in my opinion. And I have my own opinions on the elimination of any criteria for what it takes to be a Miss USA. But that, again, that's separate from Miss Oregon, right? Like, Miss Oregon's got nothing to do with that. And props to her for taking her moment to do her thing, all right? So, the third question was to Nevada. Okay, so Miss Nevada, I can tell you right now why you lost. It's because you didn't go bald on the second night. I mean, how is your platform going to be about how bald is beautiful and accepting yourself? And you did the thing on prelims, okay? It was beautiful. It was incredible. I loved it. But you can't remove the wig in prelims and then come to finals and wear a wig. No, baby, you should have been loud, proud, bald, beautiful, and tossed the wig. You know, you left the wig behind in prelims. All right, that should have been it. We should have been done. We should have been dusted. And personally, I think that's why you lost. Also, finals gown was not as elegant as the prelims gown. You should have just kept the prelims gown and stayed bald. But I think that's why it didn't happen. Also because didn't answer the question. Didn't answer the question, and she's made bald her personality, is my opinion. So the question that Miss Nevada got was postulating tomorrow every social media platform is gone. Like, social media just doesn't exist anymore. What changes first in you and society? And how will it change how we measure influence? All right? And Miss Nevada, she went on to give this word salad of an answer about a more accepting society, and that she went on about social media comparisons and, you know, comparing yourself to what people are doing online and where they're traveling and all of that, and that she hopes will live in the real world, and that we are all worth accepting, even her without her hair. And that was her answer. Which, how are you going to talk about you without your hair when you put the wig back on? Yeah. So that's a non-starter there, full stop, okay? Shot yourself in the foot with that one. You really did, baby. But then, this wasn't really an answer. Like, you didn't say that it also didn't do well for you, right? Like, it implies that you aren't accepting. Like, you're responding to what changes first in you if there's no social media tomorrow, right? Like, how is your life going to be different? What is your reaction going to be? And what changes in society? And she never even got to how do we measure influence. Like, there was no answer in that answer. Okay, and between that and, bald is beautiful, but here I am in a wig. Yeah. So, now, how I would have answered that question is, first of all, personally, it kind of wouldn't affect my life that too terribly much, although it would deeply impact the first hour when I wake up, where I just troll X. So, X will get significantly less screen time from me if there's no social media tomorrow. But beyond that, it's frankly not going to impact my life too terribly much. I'm a hermit crab. I'm not on social media, and getting me to post for my brand is like pulling teeth. Okay, but from a societal perspective, I would think that it would probably be good. I think it would be a good thing for social media to be gone and for people to reconnect with their neighbors and their immediate, physical community, and reconnect with going to in-person events and learning how to connect with people in IRL, okay? So personally, that's what I would hope, that's how long-term it would affect society. But we all know that people would just lose their ever-loving minds, all right? And then I think the way that you would measure influence, which I think is part of what the whole original point of the modern beauty queen is supposed to be to begin with, is that pesky, how do you measure influence, that Miss Nevada did not answer. And I think how you measure influence in a social media-less environment is how it was always measured. It was by how involved and how impactful you are on the community that you live with, right? Like, what are you doing to further civic responsibility and social change in the areas that you think need it, while, within your own community, right? Like, how are you going into the world and living in a way that's making a difference? And that's what being an influencer is, right? It's not sitting behind a camera or sitting in front of a screen or posting, narcissistic images of oneself all the time, which, you know what, I don't hate it because we all love a hottie, right? But it's being in real life. It's, like I said, it's impacting your community, and that's what an influencer is in a social media-less environment. And frankly, that's kind of the whole point of being a beauty queen. But I do think, so, and this is a much longer answer than what you would be able to do on stage, because this is more than 90 seconds, but it's my video and I'll do what I want. I think that one of the positive things that we're seeing now is this, and we're seeing it in a really rapid way across a lot of different categories, is that with this advent of social media, true authenticity cannot be faked. Like, you cannot fake who you are or hide aspects of yourself the way that you could previously. It was much easier in a non-digital age to compartmentalize your life and present a certain face to certain groups, because those groups never interacted, right? So it would be much easier to compartmentalize and to code switch without your different compartments realizing that you were code switching. And that is the reason that that's not possible on social media is because you can't control who's going to post content about you anymore, especially the larger of a personality you become. So we're finally reaching that inflection point where the people that are genuine and the people that are consistent with who they are and who they are demonstrating themselves to be, because you are your actions. And so if you're someone that the actions that you take in your life and the way that you live and the way that you to be rather than to seem, right? If you're doing that as a personal practice, then you don't have to worry about what content people are capturing of you, right? And if you're someone who has donned a personality and is performing, right, and is putting on these different hats as a performative action rather than as a performance rather than an action, then we can tell. It's why people aren't buying the bullshit anymore. But yeah. Anyways, that was my little mini rant there. We went on for quite a while. But question number 4. And this was our second runner-up for... Wait, no, this was not. This was Texas. So this was Texas's question, which... Shout out to Texas for wearing such an unbelievably unusual gown. I have never seen anything like it quite in my life. And I couldn't decide if I loved it or I hated it, which, you know what? I like that. I like it. I like seeing things that I may hate. So, hey, and she looked confident in it. So props to Miss Texas. The one note for Miss Texas, and y'all gonna come at me about this too, but you know what? Bring it on, babies. I don't care. She mentioned, and this was not in her, well, no. She definitely mentioned it in her question response as well, but in her like 90-second Meet the Contestant video, Miss Texas mentioned about being black and being only the fourth Miss Texas, black Miss Texas. And I think that's great. I think it's marvelous that that's something that you're proud of, but that's what you've got. You've got your skin color. Like, Miss Texas, I know you're more interesting than that. I know you've got more going on than that. And yeah, I don't know. I just think that we need to stop bringing up these immutable characteristics as selling points for why you should invite us to a dinner party, okay? Because I care about, again, what you're doing, who you are, and whether I want to hang out with you, okay? But anyways, her question, Miss Texas's question was, if you could erase one barrier in the U.S. that keeps women from building lasting wealth, what would it be and how? So, first of all, I have beef with this question, okay? I have so much beef with this question. Like, we live in the United States. The only thing that is keeping women from long-term wealth building is our own inability to extricate ourselves from the circus that is conspicuous consumption and capitalistic consumerism in a digital age, okay? Pull your head out of the Birkin bag and stop spending money. All right. Imagine how much money you would have if you weren't so concerned about whether or not you had gotten Tatcha's newest serum, or whether you were going to be able to afford your Drunk Elephant 12-step face routine every month, okay? Or if you didn't spend $8 every day on a latte at the local cafe, all right? And people are starting to, push back of like, oh my God, it's not just the latte. That's so like anti-female. No, it's not. It's reality. Like $8 a day, you do the math, honey, and it adds up, all right? Coffee's not getting cheaper and your bank account's only getting thinner, and it's for a coffee. Do it on the weekend if you want to be, cute. And also, stop getting delivery. Go out, pick up the food, get some exercise, or you know what? Cook for yourself, because it's a lot of money. Y'all, I know for a fact, are spending upwards of $45 for delivery. Easy for one person, okay? It's a lot of money, and that's why you don't have long-term wealth. All right, that and feeling like you have to buy the latest Skims, whatever the heck, or you need a new dress to go out with your girlfriends next Friday night. Like, stop it. Do you want long-term wealth? Stop spending money. Stop spending money. That's the answer. That's the only barrier for women. And I hate that question. It's such a antiquated, sexist, victimhood mentality answer to, like, question to ask. Like, it just is. Anyways, and I don't think Miss Texas did a good job at all at answering this. But her answer was that the barrier was accessibility. So, accessibility how? What is it that women can't access that men can, that's keeping you from accruing wealth? Anybody, TD Ameritrade does not care what your gender is if you want to sign up to have an account, okay? Like, E-Trade does not care what gender you are if you want to invest money into the NASDAQ or the S&P, okay? Like, what accessibility? What accessibility? Like, it's not 1970, all right? Or like whatever year it was where women couldn't open a bank account, all right? Like, you can open a bank account. You can get your own credit cards. Like, what accessibility do men have that you don't, that's keeping you from building long-term wealth? What is it? If you know what it is and you're mad about it, like, tell me, please, someone help me, because I don't know. I don't know. All right. Except for women's inability to keep $1 in their pocket due to being the primary drivers of the economic engine and everything in our society being built around endless consumption. Okay. So put your $1 back in your pocket, stop spending it, and you'll accrue long-term wealth. All right. You'll probably also drive down inflation and reestablish the dollar as a powerful currency. But anyways, so her answer was accessibility. And then she started talking about women in sports and not being able to imagine yourself in certain spaces due to lack of representation, and that she wants to inspire every other person in the universe that it doesn't matter if you are the first, as long as you believe in yourself, you are more than halfway there. And the question was, what barrier would you remove to help women build lasting wealth? Okay, so that's just a reminder. What barrier needs to be removed that's keeping women from building long-term financial wealth? And her answer was accessibility, and that because she works in sports, imagining yourself in spaces without representation is hard, but she also wants to inspire everybody throughout the universe, which, like, first of all, we're not answering that question at all. You didn't talk about financial long-term wealth at all. And I mean, you're a Black woman going into sports reporting, and you talked about how you needed people that looked like you to be inspired, but then you want to inspire everybody. There's a conundrum there that is difficult to reconcile, right? Like, there's both the implication that, like, you know, you can inspire everybody. It doesn't matter. And I think she talked about this. Like, it doesn't matter what you look like. You can be inspired by somebody. But then she also talked about how you need to have you have to be able to have the same skin color as someone in order to, or be the same gender as someone in order to be inspired by somebody. I don't know. But she also just didn't answer the question. So, like, stop being a victim, Miss Texas. And I mean, look, you've got 5 brothers. You're clearly into sports. Like, why aren't we hearing about that? Why is it always about how, like, you can't see yourself in places, but also, you know, like, 4th Black Miss Texas. Woo! Doing a lot, that one. Which, again, can't wait. Doesn't answer the question about how you can help women build long-term wealth. But hey, in her defense, I think this is a terrible question, because I don't think that there are barriers except for women's own financial habits that are keeping them from building long-term wealth. And I say that because I have terrible financial habits. Okay? Yeah. Those who can't do, teach. And those who can't teach, critique. All right, and our last question, which went to the second runner-up, or the first runner-up, which I think Oregon should have been the first runner-up, not New Jersey. But New Jersey, fifth question, first runner-up. Imagine you have the attention of every 15-year-old girl in the United States for 90 seconds. What do you say? Now, she started off like kind of strong, and she led with her whole shtick, which is you are the architect of your identity, which as a former athlete, and who, you know, she talks about being a former athlete and coaching, and she established her MVP organization, which stands for Most Valuable Pivot. She wants to teach them to be architects of their identity outside of sports. My mission, my motive, and my movement will consist of equipping the next generation with the tools and confidence they need to go from their most valuable pivot and catapult into their most valuable purpose. So first of all, I think Miss Jersey needed to tone down the she needed to like mellow out a little bit. There were a lot of like Miss New Jersey's speaking habits that gave off the impression of almost I don't want to say snobby, but there were certain parts of the way that Ms. New Jersey spoke and carried herself that were a little off-putting, personally. But it was like slightly too sassy, right? And yeah, I guess sassy would be the best way to put it. It's just like slightly too sassy, you know? And I get it might be nerves, but a little too sassy. So to go to the question response, you have 15, like you're addressing 15-year-old girls for 90 seconds, and you're talking about how you were in sports and your platform. Like 15-year-old girls don't care about your sales pitch for Most Valuable Pivot, which like I think is a padded resume of a platform to begin with, in my opinion, especially because a lot of the way that she answered this question was just exactly what she said in her 90-second video. It felt very canned and like, let me shoehorn my little spiel of how to sell my platform without actually telling you specifically like what it means, right? Like Most Valuable Pivot and like architect of their identity outside of sports. Like what does that mean? That like if you play a sport and you're a female athlete, like that's all you are? Like, and it kind of sounds like a self-report, right? That like I don't know. It's just not like coherent to me. Like, do young women have a problem having multiple hobbies and aspects of their personality these days? Like if you play soccer, you're only allowed to be a certain type of like soccer player. I don't know. Like, or like if you play sports, you're not allowed to be pretty. I don't know. I don't know what that means. Like why do you need to pivot outside of athletics? And like architects of your identity sounds like you're building a like social media resume, right? Like, and not in a good way. Like, architects of your identity, it just sounds like I'm going to teach you how to lie about what you have and you don't have. And here's a contact that I've got for renting a, private jet photo shoot space, right? Like, I don't know. I didn't like it. And she didn't answer the question, in my opinion, because no 15-year-old that I know cares anything about what she just said. I'm like, okay, great. Most valuable pivot. What are you telling me? Like, I don't know. Whatever. But she ended up being the first runner-up. So clearly they liked something. But yeah. Anyways, so those were the answers, and I think that's why Nebraska won. Okay. She looked natural. She looked like herself. And her performance, while it was clearly a routine and a performance, she was at least at the point where it felt a little more effortless. And it was, and then when you spoke to Miss Nebraska, even though you could hear her nerves a little bit, she was still collected enough to have a comfortable conversation even while being nervous, which is part of what takes practice and is part of why, to me, that would be like an automatic, like, yes, right? Like, this young woman, she's clearly nervous, she's clearly excited, there's clearly a lot of adrenaline, but she's capable of standing here, taking a breath, being present, and have a clear and coherent conversation that expresses and showcases who she is in a genuine way, right? I think that's why Nebraska won. And Oregon, you should have been first runner-up, in my opinion. But I told y'all why I didn't think Oregon made it further than she did. Can fight me on that, whatever. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But yeah, so that's my recap of Miss USA. And it's been a long one. So I'm going to be doing a series on this because I want to make beauty pageants great again, because I think that there are a lot of things that they're important for. I think that they create unbelievable young women, and that there is nothing more empowering than being a young woman who has learned how to be confidently beautiful. All right. So make beauty pageants great again. Welcome. If you hate it, tell me why. And yeah, so this is it. Have a good one. I've done my due diligence today. We're a day late, $1 short, but whatever.